Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, for the first time in months, a trickle of aid makes it through from Chad into the Sudanese region of Darfur. The border crossing's been temporarily reopened for the humanitarian deliveries desperately needed in Sudan after 16 months of war. Also, the latest floods to hit Niger are feared to have cost hundreds of lives. Climate change has caused river waters to rise higher than usual, causing devastation across several countries in the region. And dozens of Tunisians will be participating in the Paris Paralympics. 13 women, 17 men across 4 disciplines. We catch up with them at their final training round before heading over to Paris. But first, for the first time since February, over a dozen aid trucks from the World Food Programme have managed to cross over from Chad into Sudan's famine-stricken region of Darfur. Now, that's just a fraction of the supplies needed, as more than 6 million people there face food insecurity, a grim statistic that rises to more than 25 million people across the whole of the war-torn country. The World Food Programme has dozens more trucks poised to cross over the Adre border following the Sudanese army's temporary lifting of a ban on aid deliveries. Brian Quinn tells us more.
In these UN images, trucks from the World Food Programme cross from Chad into Sudan via the Adre border crossing, carrying desperately needed aid. Staple foods bound for the 13,000 people at risk of famine in West Darfur, a small fraction of the more than 6 million facing severe food insecurity across the Darfur region as Sudan's civil war grinds on.
We will need a constant supply of humanitarian goods. It is critical to sustain that flow of food and nutrition assistance into and across Sudan, where more than a dozen areas are either at risk or in risk of famine.
More than half the country's population, some 25 million people, are suffering acute hunger amid the now 15-month-old war between the regular army, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Rapid Support Forces militia, or RSF, led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. The Adre crossing is one of 3 routes that humanitarian groups want opened up to allow more aid into Darfur. Army forces had blocked it for months, accusing the United Arab Emirates of using it to send weapons to supply RSF fighters. U.S.-brokered negotiations aimed at a ceasefire are ongoing in Geneva, without a delegation from the army, which has refused to attend in person, though they are consulting remotely.
It would be easier to work on the national cessation of hostilities if the army sent a delegation. The key, though, is the results.
Sudan is now also dealing with a cholera epidemic as sanitation systems break down, an outbreak that is exacerbating the world's worst hunger crisis in a country once regarded as a breadbasket of Africa.
Now, since August 20th, at least 217 people have been killed in severe floods that have battered Niger. Guinea, Chad, Mali and Sudan have also faced heavier than usual seasonal rains, sometimes to devastating effect. Take a look.
Actions that seem futile, given the scale of the disaster. The capital Niamey is submerged, transformed into a vast lake. The gendarmerie is hard at work, but it doesn't seem to be enough.
We would like the government to provide us with more canoes, even though it has already sent 2 large gendarmerie patrol boats to make the crossing free of charge and in complete safety. We are really scared because once the dike gives way, the whole of Lamord would effectively be gone, and many people could be left homeless. God alone can measure the consequences, but on a human scale, we can only estimate that there could be a risk of death, flooding, and houses collapsing.
These floods, which have affected several parts of the country, are leaving a heavy toll. Around 100 people have died, and more than 137,000 have been affected. Neighboring Chad has not been spared. The capital N'Djamena was hit by heavy rains. During the night of 17 to 18 of August, houses collapsed, leaving the population vulnerable. To date, the province of Tibesti has recorded more than 70 deaths, according to local authorities. The rainy season extends from June to September in the region. It was particularly deadly in Niger in 2022, with 195 deaths and 400,000 people affected.
South Africa's National Health Lab Service, or NHLS, is still reeling from a June ransomware attack. The breach caused months of lab testing delays and saw hackers steal huge amounts of data. Eunice Masson with more.
The computer system of the National Health Laboratory Service was blocked since mid-June. Doctors had no access to critical medical information of patients, and it took the Health Ministry a few weeks to realize that they have been hacked. The Russian criminal syndicate Black Suit claimed responsibility for data theft and demanded a ransom. According to a cybersecurity expert, data piracy is worth more than €1 billion a year.
We've been tracking between about 35 and 45 active gangs at any given time. And we're recording around 4,500 what we call observable victims every year. That's 77% increase, so almost twice as much as the year before.
This organization's chart shows companies like Black Suit regularly change their name and structure. The ransoms paid easily reaches over the millions of euros. The highest ever paid was €75 million. But in the case of the South African health system, it seems that nobody paid. Hackers have given up hope to receive a ransom, but now threaten to expose the confidential information of millions of patients.
In the case of NHLS, you can see down there their timer has run out, and there is now a link that allows you to download all of their files.
Deputy Health Minister Dr. Joe Pagla announced yesterday that operations have been restored. However, it is understood that the medical histories of patients are not yet available.
Well, millions of Senegalese Muslims are set to meet in the city of Tuba on Friday for the annual Grand Magal pilgrimage. But beyond its religious importance, Tuba also wields some pretty big economic clout, as our team tells us.
This new 4,000 square metre supermarket has proved quite the hit in Senegal's holy city. More than 1 million people live in Tuba, a previously underserved market.
The overall investment to date is 4 billion CFA francs. That's about 6 million euros. Tuba provides a real opportunity, which is the reason why the Lekoufi business chose to invest.
With the great annual pilgrimage to the city underway, the supermarket has seen record profits.
There is a real need for this kind of thing in Tuba, a place where you can find everything you need, especially during the great pilgrimage.
Tuba lies in the most populated administrative region in Senegal. It is connected to the capital Dakar by a long motorway. Businessmen aim to create a low-tax special economic zone by the side of the road.
1.6 kilometers in length all the way to Tuba.
Their aim is to make Tuba the new industrial heartland of Senegal.
The plan is to create a dry port, an industrial space. We need to decentralize industry from Dakar because of all the traffic along the road and all the problems that it causes.
Tuba faces a number of major infrastructure issues, including limited water access, a problem exacerbated during the annual pilgrimage. In a visit to the city on Monday, President Diomaye Faye promised to find solutions.
Now, dozens of Tunisian athletes will be heading over to Paris for the Paralympics. 13 women, 17 men, 4 disciplines. Most hoping that their time here in Paris will mean that it will boost recognition and support for wheelchair sports at home after the Games are done. Our team reports.
Wheelchair race athletes go through their checklist once more ahead of the Paris Paralympics. Among them are 5-time gold medalist and world champion Walid Katila and newcomers like Mohamed Nidal Khalifi. He has an injured spine, but after a decade of fierce training, he hopes to win a medal in the 400 meter.
What do? We laugh and enjoy ourselves and divide the work among ourselves, so we're happy with our training and let go of the stress from the streets, from our homes, from everything.
Despite the many medals won by its para-athletes, wheelchair sports still do not have a large following in Tunisia.
I meet regular people as well as educated people, even officials who consider para-athletics easy. No, it's something very difficult.
Training athletes also require very specific kit that can be hard to come by.
The materials are very expensive. There are sports played with prostheses, like racing, which we can't develop here because it's too expensive. I can't even consider it as a coach. Already, wheelchair racing, it's not easy for us. At a minimum, one chair costs $5,000.
But athletes remain committed. Shot put fans are pinning their hopes on Ahmed bin Musleh, who won silver at the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics.
Preparations have gone well, thank God. God willing, I'll win the gold and come home with the gold.
Fathiya Amaima also hopes to bring home gold in the discus.
I'm someone who believes determination is stronger than anything else. If you have strong determination, you can overcome all your challenges gold-winning.
At the last Paralympics, Tunisia ranked first among African and Arab countries with a record 11 medals.
And finally, the world's second largest known diamond has been unearthed in Botswana. The massive 2,492-carat rock was discovered by a Canadian mining company in the Karowe diamond mine in the northeast. The country is one of the world's top producers of diamonds, which are its main source of income, and yet that hasn't stopped this latest find dazzling Botswanan President Mokgweetsi Masisi with its brilliance.
Put your hands out.
Both.
Both. You have to have both. And
What?
Oh, well, how else would you respond to a diamond of that size? That, though, is all we have time for Eye in Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.